Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Jai Hind, and I welcome you all to this session. So, I hope I am properly audible and visual to all of you. So, I welcome you all to this session, and let's start today's editorial session. Today, we are having three important articles. One is with respect to India and Canada relations. One of the first article which we are going to discuss is about India and Canada relations. The second article is going to be about the defection law. The second article will be about this defection law. And the third article will be with respect to the Gen Z employment scenario. We are going to talk about this employment scenario of the Gen Z. So this is one of the part which we are going to discuss in today's session, the different topics which are there. Okay. Now, let us start with this first part, the India-Canada relations. Okay. Let us first start with this one portion, India-Canada relations. Now, what we see, this is something which is a new factor. This is something which is a new factor. If you look at the background, if we are talking about India, Canada, if we see about the background, what you will see that if we are talking about the background of it, when we look at the background of India and Canada relations, you will see that there is a very interesting part that it has been often in past, it was largely decided by, this was something which was largely decided by India-US relation. It was largely decided by India-US relations because US was having a very strong grip. US was having a very strong grip over Canada. So most of the policies of Canada was being decided just by the United States. So what we used to see that the India-Canada relation is basically an extension of what India and US relation is. So it was not that much substantial. But what we see that in the recent times, we see that there is a tussle between US and Canada. There is a tussle between US and Canada. Now Canada is pursuing its own independent policy. Canada is pursuing the independent policy. Canada is also pursuing its own independent policy. That is also one interesting part which we have seen in the recent times. That Canada has just started to pursue its own policy. Now what we see, that is one side of a story. Then we have seen that recently there was a conflict. Okay. There was a conflict which was related to the killing of Niger. There was a recent conflict that was killing of Niger. So this has led to worsening of India and Canada ties. But we see that now this conflict is also gone. This conflict, this is something which is resolved. This conflict is something which is now resolved. We can understand that this conflict is now resolved. Okay. Now what we see that this is one of the part which is the background of it. Actually, Umesh, I am not also having information. That's why I am not able to tell you. Okay. So what we see that when we are talking about India and Canada relation, now we see that there is a new opportunity. Okay. There is a new opportunity which has started. There is new opportunity. What is the new opportunity? There is a new opportunity. Canada, now it is trying to diversify its resources. Okay. It is trying to diversify its resources. Canada has announced, that it is going to, it has announced that it is going to rebuild its military. Canada is going to rebuild its military. It has said that they are going to spend 5% of GDP. They are going to spend 5% of GDP on defense. And what we also see that Canada is no longer relying just on United States. Okay. So the reliance on United States, what we see that no longer solely dependent on United States. That it is no longer solely dependent on United States. So we see that the things have been changing in the recent times. The things have been changing in the recent times, and in this context, you will find that there is certain advancement in India and Canada relation. So here we are looking at this, that there has been, when we talk about India and Canada, we see that there have been some recent advancement. There has been certain recent advancements. Okay. What is that recent advancement? We see that there is this appointment of defense advisors in Ottawa and New Delhi. So there has been appointment of defense advisors in Ottawa and New Delhi. So there is appointment of defense advisor in Ottawa and New Delhi for cooperation. This is for cooperation. That there has been establishment of a person who will be advising India and Canada for cooperation in the defense sector. Okay. We see that there is also participation of Canada and Indian Navy in the RIMPAC. Okay. So there is also participation of Indian and Canadian Navy in RIMPAC. So that is another thing which we have seen, that now the navies are also cooperating. Okay. There is also this exchange program from Indian National Defence College and also Canadian military institutions. So there is also exchange programs. There is also this exchange programs between Indian Defence colleges and Canadian military institutions. So we see that there is exchange programs happening between the Indian Defence Colleges, the National Defence College and plus the Canadian military institution. So there is a recent advancement that also. Okay. Canada has also got a defense investment agency. Canada has also established a defense investment agency and a defense industrial strategy. Okay. So Canada is inviting India to collaborate in this. Okay. So what we see that there is Canada which is inviting India to collaborate in defense related manufacturing, designing. Okay. So what we see that there is an invitation that we are being invited by Canada, that yes, we can collaborate together, we can go for manufacturing, we can go for maintenance, we can go for innovation also. Innovation maintenance. So we have got a collaboration opportunity here with Canada. We have got here a collaboration opportunity with respect to Canada. Now, what we also see that what are the scopes, what are the area of the potential area of collaboration. Okay. If we look at this, what are the potential area? What are the potential area? Potential areas of cooperation. What are the potential areas of cooperation? If we look at this, what we see that we can have collaboration on aerospace and defense manufacturing. We can have collaboration on defense innovation and research. So aerospace and defense manufacturing. Aerospace and defense manufacturing. We see that there is also on this innovation, the defense innovation and research. Research and development in defense. We can collaborate on that part also. Then we have also this AI and advanced technology. We are also having AI and advanced technology. There also we can collaborate. Then we see that there is also collaboration on satellite technology and space robotics. Satellite technology and space robotics. And at the same time, we are also having a possible collaboration on civil. We can also have a possible on civil space cooperation. Civil space cooperation. So what we see that the things have been changing in the relations between India and that of Canada. There was a time where India-Canada relations were not very good, when our relations were at its lowest ebb just a few years back. But now we see that the things have been changing. And especially if we talk about Canada, if we are looking at our opportunity, see, it is the 10th largest, it is having the 10th largest reserve of rare earth elements. Okay. When we talk about Canada, this Canada, it is having 10th largest reserve of rare earth elements. It is having third largest reserve of uranium. It is having the third largest reserve of uranium. It is having 5% of tungsten. 5% of tungsten reserve. It is having 5% of tungsten reserve. It is also having second largest producer and exporter of uranium. Okay. It is second largest producer and exporter of uranium. So this is also second largest producer and exporter of uranium. So we see that we have got recently a deal with Australia. Australia is having almost 1/3 reserves of uranium. Australia is having the 1/3 reserves of uranium, that too high quality. So we have Canada also. Canada is the second largest producer and exporter of uranium. So what we see that India-Canada relations can in fact be one of the very much fruitful relations for us, and at the same time we can have a strategic partner in North America. So now since the US-Canada relation has gone now, it is not that much prominent now. In fact, you may have seen in the last 10 years, US and Canada has almost become like very much anti to each other. There have been multiple hootings in Canada for the US players and vice versa. So what we see that now the US-Canada relations are not very much good. And this is something which is also providing us an opportunity. It is providing us an opportunity that we can enhance our relations. In case of supply chain, in case of partnership in nuclear and others. Okay. So I hope this one part is clear, that why this area, why this location, why India and Canada relations can be very much crucial for us. I hope this one part is clear. This is the first part which you should be aware about. So during recent student protests, there were reports of lathi charge and the alleged use of expired tear gas. Acha, expired tear gas. So it is showing this that we are not good in that also, right? Do they indicate weakness in our procurement, logistic, and internal security management? They indicate the failure of the administration. They indicate the failure of the administration. They indicate the failure of the political system. It's as simple as that. You are not able to communicate with the people. The prime responsibility of the government is to communicate with the people, and communication is no longer one way. The government is accountable for the people. So whatever be the voice, if people were protesting for 20 days at Jantar Mantar, and that too in huge numbers, it was a huge failure of government that they have not gone to communicate. It's not that whether they are good or their demand is good. If someone is protesting in huge number near the parliament, it was the prime responsibility of the government to go to listen to them. If they have not done it, it's their fault. Okay. So this is one of the part. See, someone's demand can be, someone can demand irrational things, someone can demand something which cannot be done. Doesn't matter. If there are people protesting there, if there are people demanding something, the government has the prime responsibility to hear to them, to listen to them, to communicate to them. And it's not a small number. People have been asking the same question in millions. If government is not listening, so it means government is like out of the context here. The government is having no such idea about what's going on in the country then. Okay. So it's a failure of the government. A single lathi charge at Jantar Mantar is a failure of government. They have failed. Okay. Now, coming to this one part, defection. Defection is, there is a question about this one thing. What we see, there is one part, defection. When we are talking about this, what we see that in the recent times, recently what we have seen that many of the MPs, they have joined other political parties. Okay. What we see that many MPs, they have joined another political parties, joined another political party. We see that there has been mass defection. And I think you are aware about this, that this is possible because of the present loophole. This is possible because of the present loophole in our anti-defection law. Okay. So we have the anti-defection law. We have the anti-defection law. Okay. This is the 10th schedule. The 10th schedule. And one of the part of this anti-defection law allows, okay, the legal loophole. The legal loophole. This is something which allows mass defection. This is something which allows mass defection. The legal loophole, it allows the mass defection, and what we see that this is something which is especially challenging. This is something which is especially challenging in smaller states, or political parties, small political parties. This is something which is especially challenging for the smaller states or smaller political parties. And what we see that this defection can be considered as a major threat to the democratic electoral process. Okay. So this is something, this mass defection, it is something which can be considered as a threat to the fairness of electoral process. It can be considered as a threat to the fairness of the electoral process. Now, why we say that it is a threat? Let us try to understand it. Okay. In how many months should I complete the optional? I will suggest you 5 to 6 months is more than sufficient. Depends on what your optional is. If your optional is math, it can take 1 year also. But generally, if you are having optionals such as sociology or PSIR or anthropology, can be done in 3 to 4 months. Sociology can be done in 4 5 months. Other subjects also like history, it is very much vast, but again, it is done in 5 to 6 months max. Okay. So you should be completing the optional in 5 to 6 months. That would be my suggestion. Okay. Now, what we look at this, it allows the mass defection. It allows the mass defection due to the legal loophole. Now, the thing is, when we are talking about this defection part, why it is a challenge? See, in case of India, if we are talking about the election process, what we see here? In case of India, if we are talking about the election process, what do we see here? That do people choose the candidate or are they voting for the political party? इंडिया में जब इलेक्शन होता है तो लोग सिर्फ कैंडिडेट को वोट देते हैं या पार्टी को देते हैं? Who do they give vote to? So if someone is voting in India, are they giving vote just to candidate or are they also following the party line? Are they voting just for the candidate or for the party also? Parties, mostly parties. Okay. In India, there is a tendency among the people that they are mostly voting for the political parties. And they are in favor of one or they are against one. It is their choice. Of course, it is the choice of the people. So, what we see here, that when we are talking about elections in India, people have a preference of a candidate as well as a political party. And how it is clear? See, we have got so many independent candidates. But we see that what we see that people are not voting for independent candidates in the same manner. So what we see that people are mostly voting for those candidates who are belonging to a political party. People are generally voting for those candidates who belong to a political party. Now the thing is, when a member resigns from their party and resigns from their membership, and if they go to another political party, it's fine. But if someone is there who is elected as an MP or a MLA and then they are changing their political party, it is something which is considered as a, like, this is something which is like a backstabbing the citizens. Okay. So when we see when MPs or MLAs, when MPs or MLAs defect from their party, this is something which is backstabbing. This is something which is backstabbing of voters. This is something which is backstabbing of voters. Voters have chosen not only you, voters have chosen you because you belong to a particular party. You belong to a political party, that's why people have chosen you. Because people want to see that political party in power. They want to see that political party in the policy making. So if you are changing the party, that is a backstabbing of the voters. That is one of the part. What we also see that when we are talking about this defection, it is now becoming a source of weakening the opposition. There was a trend of defection. There was a trend of defection in the past where defection was a tool of uh, like harming the stability of government. At one point of time, defection was something which was harming the stability of the government. Now it is against the opposition. Now it is something which is against the opposition. So what we see that it is weakening the opposition. And in democracy we can see that role of opposition, role of a strong opposition ensures accountability of government. Ensures accountability of government. If the opposition is not strong enough, then government will become, the government will have no control. Sorry, the parliament will have no control over the government. It will do anything irrationally. Okay. So what we see that this is one of the very important part in any democracy. This is something which is very important. Okay. Now what we see that this is also a signal of weakening virtues in politics. This is something, it is something which can be seen as a opportunistic politics. It can be seen as a method of opportunistic politics. Okay. So you may see that there are several MPs or MLAs, when they are in power in a political party, they are very much in favor of it. And when the party goes out of the power, when another parties come in power, they simply leave their old political party and join a new one. So it's not that they are having any such moral compass then. If you are in the power, you are in the favor of it. But when you lose the power, and you are still an MP, now you are joining the another political party, it means you are having a lack of moral compass. So it shows that there is a weakening virtue in the politics. There is a lack of ethics in the politics. Okay. Now this is something which is also a threat. It is something which is a threat to institutions. It is something which is a threat to institutions. What we also see that this is something which is a threat to the institutions. Okay. So the institutions which are there, they are going to become weaker and weaker, because then they will be also following what the political leaders are following. They will also be following what political leaders are following. If the political leaders are changing their parties, then what about the institutions which are there? What about the institutions which are there? Okay. So what we see, so does the anti-defection law unfairly restrict an MP's freedom to leave a party even if they disagree with its policies? Of course, it is harming, But if there is a person who is having a disagreement, if a person is having a disagreement with the policies of a political party, they have a simple option: resign from the political party, contest the election once again, and gets elected. If they believe that it is not good for their electorates, if they believe that they have taken votes from the public and their political party is not making a good policy for their electorate, for their voters, so that MP or that MLA should resign first. They should resign first from their post, they should resign first from their party, and then they can contest election again. They can contest election again. Suppose you are going for JEE exam, and after going for JEE exam, you are not satisfied with the physics and chemistry. So, will you be allowed to shift to doctor's college? You have prepared for JEE, you have gone to an engineering college, and then you don't like physics there. So, can you directly shift to the medical stream? Can you directly shift from there to the medical stream? That no, I don't like physics. Let's go to the bio part. You have to go through the process once again. So when you are going with a political party, if you don't like its policies, resign from there, contest the election once again, and go and make another policies. You always have the option. So this is one of the part that in the case of defection, it is also a threat to the institution. It is weakening the institutions. It is something which is weakening the morale of institutions. It is something which is weakening the morale of the institutions. Yeah. So what we see that, and at the same time, the greatest victim is the voter. They are the one who will feel cheated. Okay. They are the one who will feel cheated. So this is one of the part. This is one of the part that when we are talking about the defection, it is the cheating against the voters. It is not just a cheating towards the political party. It is something which is a cheating against the voters. Now the thing is, in this condition, what is the way forward? What is the way forward? First of all, we need to plug the loopholes, plugging the legal loopholes. Plugging the legal loopholes in anti-defection law. There is also one part which is being suggested that if a person is moving from one political party to another political party, and that too just before the election, so there should be a restriction on immediate participation in election from another political party. They can contest neutrally, but there should be a restriction. If someone has made their entire career in one political party and then they are switching to another political party, shifting the entire electoral mandate from one party to another party, so in that condition there should be a restriction. So this is also one part, restriction to contest elections immediately from another political party after switching from original party, after this switching from the original party. So many people also suggest this part. Many people also suggest this part. So this is one of the thing which we see here. Now, what we also see that when we are talking about this one part, we also need to ensure political morality. There should be regular workshops in legislative assembly and parliament. So we need a training of our politicians also. We need to have a training of our politicians also. Like we are having the although there is a doubt on this how much it is effective, but we see that there is a regular training. There is a regular training and ethical workshops for many of the IPS officers, for many of the police personnels. So we are having ethical training workshops for many of our police officers from time to time. And we see that yes, in some of them it's quite good. There is a good result in that. It's not for all, but in some of them there is a good result. So we need to have ethical workshops. We need to have workshops for building ethics in political life. So that is also something which is required. Okay. So then this is one of the part that what should be done with respect to this, with respect to this defection law. I hope that's clear. Your chats are being blocked. I'm having no idea about the context of it, so I cannot comment on it. Okay. So this is the second part. This is the second part which is with respect to this defection law. Now, on the basis of it, we have two questions. If electoral mandates can be traded for political power, the real casualty is democracy itself. Comment. So this is one thing which you have to answer. Look at this one question. It is saying if electoral mandates can be traded for political power, the real casualty is democracy itself. Okay. Now the second thing is Canada and India defense partnership can contribute to a more secure, resilient and strategically stable future for both nations. Discuss. Okay. So these are the two questions which we have from the two topics which we have seen. Okay. No, actually, I am not having the information about the batches. You have to understand it. See, the thing is that if we are talking about not just me, for any other faculty who is there in English medium, so we are not having the information about the batches. Um, if let me tell you that I don't have information about the batch number, that which batch number you are there in, or which batch the class is going on. Okay, I have the information that I have my class from this to this. That is one part which I know. The other things are basically seen by the management. So this is not something which is in my part. That is one challenge. So that's why I'm not able to inform you about the batches, that what classes will be there in other batches. Now, coming to the next part, that is about the Gen Z. Okay. So we have this third part which is with respect to the Gen Z. Okay. Now the thing is, like when we are talking about India, if we look at this, we have got 371 million young people. We have got 371 million young people. Some countries are not having this much population. If you combine the population of Australia, Russia, UK and many other European countries, it will not be reaching that 371 million. Okay. So we have 37 crore young population. according to United Nations 2025, according to UN 2025, that India is having 371 million young people. Why United Nations? Because we don't have our data. The government forgot to conduct a census last time. Since we have not got a census last time in 2021, so we failed to get any authentic data in this regard. Now, of course, the excuse was that COVID was going on, but during the same COVID period, we have seen elections in multiple parts of the country. Okay. Now, the thing is that there is 371 million young people in India. That is one of the part. Okay. Now, the Gen Z, the one who were born between 1997 to 2012, okay. 1997 to 2012 born. I think many of you may be also in the same group. Okay. Many of you may be in the same group. So those who were born during this time, their number is 29.94 crore. Their number is 29.94 crore. Okay. And if we talk about the millennials, their number is still higher. The millennials, their number is near about 35 crore. The millennials are near about 35 crore. Now, this is something which is the main working population. This is the main working population of the country. This is the main working population of the country. The millennials at 35 crore, including me. Okay. And of course, you are from the Gen Z generation, the proud generation. And yes, very good. Like after some recent events, I can say that they have a better courage. They are much more better than the previous generation in political awareness, at least. In many other things, there may be somewhat lack, but then yes, in political awareness, Gen Z has proved itself to be much better than the previous generations. So that's a good part of it. Okay. Now, what we see, what we see that like in the Gen Z, a significant portion of them, a significant portion, when we are talking about the Gen Z, we see that a significant proportion of them are still in the education part. Okay. So what we see that a significant portion, around 41.7% of male, 41.7% male, and near about 38.4% female, they are having still like education. They are still in education phase. They are still in education phase. So they will be entering the labor market very soon. They are also going to enter into this labor market very soon. What we see that in the case of labor force participation, in the force of labor force participation, what we see here that in case of Gen Z, it is near about 41.7%. It is again here 41.7%. In case of millennials, it is roughly around 75%. In the case of millennials, it is 75%. Now, what we see that in the case of this Gen Z, there is one very challenging aspect. Okay, there is one very challenging aspect. What we see that the female participation is quite lower. The female participation is quite lower. If we talk about the unemployment, what we see that the Gen Z male, they have an unemployment ratio of around 17.1%. 17.1%. And in case of female, it is 22.6%. So we see that in the case of Gen Z, the gender gap is very much higher. Okay. If we talk about the graduate unemployment, those who are graduate and unemployed, we see that in the case of male, it is near about, this is something which is near about 29, it is about 29%. 29%. And in case of female, it is again higher, that is 36.9%. It is very much high. Okay. We see that in the case of graduate unemployment, we see that in the case of Gen Z, in case of male, it is 29.6%. Okay. What we see, why this thing is existing? Okay. What is the reason behind it? What are the reasons behind it? One of the part is, some of them are going for higher education. Some of them are going for higher education. There is another part which is a skill gap. There is one of the part that is a skill gap. We see that education, it is not matching the industry. Then we see that automation and AI, this is something which is reducing the jobs. That is also one of the challenge. Okay. So this is something like this is something where we see that there is a silent job crisis. There is a silent job crisis which we see in the case of Gen Z. There is a silent job crisis. We are having more number of graduates. But we are not having equal number of good paying jobs or good jobs. So this is one of the reason. We see that the Gen Z have been going on for many such demands. Gen Z has been protesting for jobs, for education, for better things. So one of the thing is, we have to understand this part, that there is a higher education. Some of them are pursuing higher education. Some of them are having their skill gaps, and then automation and AI, that is also reducing the jobs. That is also reducing the jobs for the Gen Z. Now again, what we see that like in case of the women, the condition is again like very much lower. In case of women, the condition is again very much lower. Let me show you certain facts. Okay. Since we are having less time, so let me show you some facts. Around 35% are engaged in domestic duties, 10.7% are unpaid family workers, and only 4.7% are having regular wage. So in case of female, we see that only 4.7% of the Gen Z generation in females are regular wage earners. Okay. In the male also, you will see that 15.8 they are having unpaid family workers, 12.3 are casual workers, and only 14.8 are regular wage earners. So we see that there is informal, casual or unpaid employment instead of secure jobs. So this is something which is missing. Then we also see this one part, that when we are looking at them, only 20% of Gen Z workers, they are getting social security, and 14% have formal job contracts. So this is one of the worrying trends. This is one of the challenging trends in our society, that only 20% have got social security schemes and 14% are having formal jobs. Okay. So we see that like in case of millennials, you will see that there is 26% who have job contracts, 28.6% they have social security. So we see that there is a significant gap. There is a significant gap in case of Gen Z, and that is a challenging trend for the future. Social security is very much important. You are aware about this. Social security is something which is very much important. If there is any health issues, if there is any such unprecedented issues, then it becomes challenging for the people. So what suggestions are there? If you look at the suggestions, one of the thing is we have to expand labor intensive industries. We have to generate large scale employment, otherwise it will become a crisis. A silent job crisis is already going on. Okay. We see that this is school to work transition. This is something which we have to strengthen. We are having schools, we are having colleges, we are having so many facilities, but then education to job transition, this is something which is becoming challenging now. Okay. Then we see that we have to increase apprenticeship and hiring incentive for formal sector firms. You can see as compared to the previous generations, there is a gap. Like in millennials, we are seeing that 28% of them, or almost 1/3 of them, are getting formal contracts. In case of the Gen Z, it has come down to less than 14% or 14% of them. So this is something which is challenging. We have to improve women workforce participation. It was believed that when the new generation will come, there will be more gender parity. It was believed that there will be more gender parity. But now we see that there is a change there. The gender parity is not that much. Okay. So we have to expand formal employment, social security, and contractual protection. Okay. So this is one of the part. Just let me show you this one angle. In case of graduate unemployment, you can see that women are having unemployment rate of 36.9%. Okay. So we see that see, in the case of graduate unemployment for millennials, look at this. For men, it is 5.2. For case of women, it is 13.8. But see, for the Gen Z, for them, in the case of men, it is 29% as compared to 5.2%. And in case of women, it is 36% as compared to 13.8%. So in both male and female, there is a very high unemployment ratio among the graduate Gen Z. So this is something which is a worrying trend for India. This is something which is challenging for India. So we need to find a solution for it before it becomes too late. Okay. I hope that part is clear. Sir, since PLFS are based on sample surveys rather than the entire population, what methods are used to ensure that the results accurately represent India's diverse population? See, the thing is, like, the sample surveys part is correct, that we are having sample survey, but that sample survey is made diversified. It is chosen from the different part of the country. Now, in any country, we cannot have a total estimate of it. So it is going to be based on a survey only. So we generally see that it is almost like that. It's not giving a complete picture, but it is almost like that. Okay. Any question, any doubt? So how many of you have written the previous question? No, we have the questions. Let's discuss that first. At least one question. India-UK trade agreement is not merely about reducing tariff, but also about encouraging Indian business to become globally competitive. This is something which was the part of comment. Okay. So then how you will introduce? You will mention about the CETA. And you can mention that it is becoming effective now. That it has become effective now. Okay. The CETA has become effective now. That is one part which you can do in the introduction. That is the first part which you can do in introduction. Then you will make a flow chart. This flow chart will have components. This flow chart will have components of India-UK trade deal. India-UK trade deal. Okay. Then you can mention about this, how it can make, then you can make this one part, benefits for Indian business. Benefits for Indian business. That is one part which you can mention. Then, since it is a comment portion, if you want, you can add a challenge portion, but add this in form of a flow chart. Challenge portion, this is something which you can mention in the form of a flow chart. And then in the conclusion, you can mention what's necessary for India. What's necessary for proper benefit of this. That we need, see, now since I have told you, okay, let me explain it to you one by one. First of all, we are going to write, see this question, India-UK trade agreement is not merely about reducing tariff, but about encouraging Indian business to become globally competitive. If you're talking about this one answer, what we will be doing? In the introduction, we will first mention about this SETA, that it is becoming effective now, it has been enforced now. So that is one part which you can give in the introduction. Then the second part of the answer will be, you are going to make a flow chart. This flow chart is going to consist of the components of India-UK trade deal. The third part will be this, since the question is asking about this part, that how it is going to benefit the businesses, make a subheading that benefits for the Indian business. Last day we have discussed it, that how it will promote more competitiveness in the Indian business. That will be the third part. The fourth part will be, again, you can highlight some of the challenges with respect to the Indian businesses, that we have the lack of capital, we have the lack of foreign direct investments also, we are having the lack of technology, we are having the lack of this market access. So you can mention that part. Then in the solution, you can mention about this part, that government should also be thinking about collaboration in matters of technology, promoting private investment through venture capital or angel funds, and streamlining or rationalizing the the laws for businesses to become more competitive. So we have to rationalize our laws, streamline our compliance process, bring technology and promote investment in order to make businesses truly competitive and the reaping the benefits of this SETA. Okay. So the same thing is what you can mention here in the conclusion. Should universities? Yes. Direct answer, yes. Good. You have started with same and flowchart also. Very good. Can we include a state government scheme in my answer? Yes, you can use that. No issues in that. Okay. You can say that this is one good example how it can promote the businesses in India. Okay. So in this context, if you want to use any state government scheme, that's totally okay. No issues in that. Okay. So that will be all for today. I have given you 2 questions. You have to write it. Last day we could not have the current affairs session in the evening, but today we will have it. Okay. So thank you very much everyone. Write the answers and then we will discuss more about this in the next session. Thank you. Take care. All the best.